Hello, everyone. We are live on LinkedIn, and my name is Michael Fox. I am with Michael Fox Coaching, and we help RVPs who are in the insurance industry struggling to get in front of enough clients, struggling to make the calls. We help hold you accountable in a very focused way so that ultimately you can get results, you can have a happier life, and earn more money. So today I'm going to be short and sweet. I want to talk about something that I know will bring you value and will help you produce at a higher level. The name of today's presentation is the 100% RVP, Owning Your Journey to Success. So I want to talk about what we're seeing right over here on the screen. And that is taking 100% responsibility for your life and your results. I want to ask you a question. How many of you sometimes either blame someone else, complain, or make excuses about why you're in the situation that you're in? Now, I can't see you, but I know from having spoken to a whole lot of people in the insurance industry that you would be raising your hands, because unfortunately, at times, we make excuses, we blame and we complain and we point the finger out there. And today, what I'm going to suggest is that if we start learning how to stop pointing the finger out there and start pointing the finger back at ourselves, that's where we're going to get the most results. That's where we're going to start to learn how to really, truly learn to hold ourselves accountable. And that's where, again, we're ultimately going to earn more money. So let's jump in. And if you have any questions, just down below, leave a comment. And I'm not going to answer the questions during the presentation, but I'll answer them afterwards. So whatever question you leave, you can be sure that, again, I'll respond to that. Okay, so let's jump in here. So this first slide over here says you can't hire other people to do your push-ups for you. So what do I mean by that? What do you think that I mean by that? There's no one else out there that's going to take responsibility for your life other than yourself. You can't hire someone to take responsibility for your life. You're the only person that can do that. We've learned, because we were programmed by other people, to start pointing the finger out there. We see it on the news. We've heard our parents do it. We've seen friends and family members point the finger and say, why do they do this? Why do they do that? And it's good in a sense. It makes us feel like we don't have to look in the mirror and deal with our own stuff that's going on right inside of ourselves. However, when we're pointing the finger out there, does that ever change our results? And of course, the answer is no. So what I'm suggesting today is you have to give up all blaming, complaining, justifying, defending, and making excuses. Do you think that's a possibility to do? Now, maybe that's a very high level, and maybe it seems like that would be a real struggle for me to do, Mike. But what if tomorrow you focused on just doing it one time during the day, and that's it? You don't have to do it 5 times. You don't have to do it 10 times. You focus on doing it once. And then the next day you do the same thing. And then the next day you do the same thing. And you start to build the habit of taking responsibility for your own life instead of saying, hey, you know what? From this point forward, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to start taking full responsibility. I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to justify anymore. And then you do it for a day, maybe 2, and then you stop. We don't want to do that. We want to build habits that actually work. And the best way to build a habit that works is to do it slowly, one small step at a time. Okay? Now, you have to give up all blaming. How many of you that are watching right now, the insurance RVPs, have blamed your results on the product? How about blaming it on the interest rates? How about blaming it on your boss? How about blaming it on your company? See, we could spend all day long doing that, but the question that really we have to answer for ourselves is, if we do that, are we ever going to better our results? It might make us feel better temporarily, but it's not going to fix our results, and it's not going to get us to where we want. So what you'll notice on the slide is all these different things in light blue that we're pointing our finger at and blaming. They're all out there. There's not, how many times have you blamed yourself for something? In other words, if you're not in the relationship that you want, do you ever blame yourself for that, or do you blame your partner? Now, how about the amount of money that you have in your bank account? Do you blame your job? Do you blame the economy? Or do you look in the mirror and say, hey, there may be something that I'm doing that's causing me to get that result? And this is what I'm suggesting we all start to do on a small basis. Stop looking at things that are outside of you and start looking on the inside. We can't control people out there, right? Imagine if all these people are doing things that we don't like, and we have to have them change their way and change the way they talk, change the way they act, change the way they present things to us so that we can hear it in a way that we like. Well, the only way we'll ever be happy is if they all change, and that never happens. So the best thing that we can do is say, hey, I'm going to give up trying to control out there. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to control right here. I'm going to control me. I'm going to control all those things inside of me, those limiting beliefs maybe that I have. I'm going to control the actions that I'm going to take. And if something obstacle gets in the way, you know what I'm going to do? I will step back. I will look at that obstacle and I'll say, what can I do now to get around that obstacle? Instead of looking at the obstacle and complaining and blaming and saying, why is this here? I don't understand. I'm trying so hard. No, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to look at it and we're going to go around it. There's no more blaming, no more complaining, no more excuses. I want you to ask yourself this question. If you were able to live by that one rule, this is the only rule you change. No blaming, no complaining, no excuses. I want you to ask yourself, what would change in your life? How much better would your life be if you were able to do that? And that's what we're going to start to practice doing. Small steps, baby steps. If you take baby steps every single day, you know what happens over a longer period of time? You get a pretty far distance. So again, it's practice. Now, let's talk, right? We talked about blaming, complaining, and excuses. Let's talk about complaining for a second. What does it mean to complain? It's an interesting thing. When we complain, what we're essentially saying is, there is something out there that I know I could be doing better, but for whatever reason, I'm fearful of actually risking and getting that thing. So let's put that in example, okay? You're an RVP in the insurance industry. You want to make more money. You want to make sure you achieve that goal, that big goal that was put upon you. That means that you have to get in front of more people, right? You got to make more calls. And you got to do that on a consistent basis. Well, sometimes that can be pretty uncomfortable, right? We get on the phone, we get rejected. We're talking to people that we don't know. We're asking for referrals. And what are they going to think? Because I'm asking them for a referral. So there's that comfort zone that we feel. And then anything outside of that is uncomfortable. So what we do instead is we complain to avoid that discomfort. So think about the last time you complained about something in the business. If you're complaining about it, there is a way to get to the other side of it. However, there's an underlying fear, there's an underlying discomfort, there's an underlying limiting belief that's holding you back from taking that action So rather than doing that and rather than feeling that discomfort, instead, you're just going to say, hey, I'm going to avoid that. I don't want to feel that. And instead, I'm going to complain about it. So anytime you hear anyone complaining about anything, including yourself, this is what you're doing. And this is a reminder to you. The beauty is this presentation is going to be here so you can replay it over and over. You could watch this 10,000 times. And I would still say after the 10,000th time, there's still more that you can learn from watching it. Because until we're perfect at not making excuses, blaming, or complaining, which means we're taking 100% responsibility for our own life, then we should be continually practicing, continually watching this over and over, because we may be missing something and we're going at a slower pace to learn this process. And eventually, if we keep taking steps and we keep committing to this and we keep putting it into action, we're going to get results. How many times do you know someone that has read a personal development book or maybe watched a documentary about in the personal development space, and you get this aha, you're like, yes, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do it from now on. And then the next day you start to do it. And then the following day you stop. And then that amazing insight that you had from watching or reading has now gone away and you're back to being yourself. You know what you should be doing, but you don't do it. There's a gap there. And why is that? Well, one of the reasons is because we're not taking responsibility. We're letting that discomfort, that fear, that feeling that we don't want to get hold us back from doing the thing we want, that we don't want to do. And sometimes just being aware of that and being honest about it is really super important. All right, let's move on. No more excuses. You have to give up all excuse making. Anytime you hear yourself making an excuse, what does that tell you? It just tells you, hey, you know what? I'm pointing my finger again. I'm making an excuse. It's so easy. I've spoken to plenty of insurance RVPs. A lot of times they're telling you about the interest rate environment and how it's impacting them and how they're not able to sell as much. And here's what I want to tell you. I have a very good friend that was in the real estate industry in 2008, which was the worst time to be in the real estate industry. And he decided at that point, because everyone else around him was saying this is going to be terrible. The market's going to be terrible. No one's going to make money. And he said, I made a decision at that point. And you ever see the blinders that they put on horses so that the horses can't see anything to the side of them? It goes right like this. They put this, he said, I put this blinder on myself. And no matter what anyone said, I didn't listen. I didn't blame. I didn't complain. I didn't make any excuses. All I knew was I was going to find a way. And he became the #1 person in his office that year in 2008, producing a significant amount of income for himself because he made a decision to not take his time and spend it doing this kind of stuff, which is blaming, complaining, excuses, which isn't going to do anything for you ever. Are you getting the point that I'm trying to make? I'm going to repeat it over and over for all of us, including myself, right? This is a message for all of us that this is something that we need to do in order to get the results that we want. You can come up with an amazing game plan. You can sit there and take hours and hours and draw up this great plan that you have. But if you don't do it, what good is the plan? And generally, we'll make up excuses, we'll blame and complain for why we're not doing that. Instead of just saying, hey, you know what? I made this plan. Maybe I'll adjust it to some degree, but no matter what, I'm going to do it. I'll keep adjusting, but I'm going to keep doing it until I get the results that I want. This no blaming, no complaining, no excuses, taking 100% responsibility for our life. This is the key to success. I've seen it happen so many times with so many insurance RVPs. The same thing. They're pointing the finger. We get on a call. They tell me all of these things out there that are preventing them from getting the results. And then I point them back to themselves. And then I help hold them accountable to consistently looking within and not pointing the finger out there. And it's incredible because when they start to do that, they start to get results. And that's why I'm harping on this. And that's why I'm spending so much time. And that's why I'm giving you this value today. This is super important. And if you don't take this lightly and say to yourself, hey, you know what? I'm going to listen to what Mike says here. He's been doing this with a lot of people. He's been getting a lot of really good results. So maybe I'm going to listen and I'm going to apply this and I'm going to commit and I'm going to say, no matter what, I don't care what other books are out there. I'm going to stay with this one thing and I'm going to do it consistently and until I get really, really good at it. And then when I get good at it, then really good, then maybe I can move on to the next thing. But the way we become a specialist at anything is we do the same thing over and over and we practice it and we learn from it and we get better from it. And then, we get to a point where we're really good at it. The first time you drove a car, I'm guessing you weren't very good at it, but then you drove again and again and again. And then all of a sudden you became an unbelievable driver. Well, somewhat of a good driver anyway. All right, let's move on. I love this quote. If you could kick the person in the pants responsible for you being who you are, instead of pointing the finger, who would it be? Of course, it's you. This is a great quote. You should print this out and put it in front of your desk because this is the truth. We're the ones that are responsible for our results. And the more that we blame, complain, and make excuses, the further we're going to get from getting what we want. Okay, so let's just walk through this really quick, okay? If you look on the screen right over here, right, it says E plus R equals O. This is a beautiful formula, and I'm going to explain it to you really simply and easily right now. It means that the event plus your response equals the outcome. Event plus your response equals the outcome. So what does that mean? And I'm going to go through these examples in a second, but there's an event that occurs, and what determines that outcome of the event is your response to it. So let's use this example right here. In the red is where we're not taking responsibility. We have an event. Your boss tells you that you're only at 40% of your goal. You have a response that you have. This is responsibility, your ability to respond, taking 100% responsibility. So we look at this, and in this case where we're not taking responsibility, you might start telling everyone how unfair it is that you're about your boss. He gave you this goal that was way higher than your last goal, and it's really not right. And in your region, you should never be given a goal like that. And you come up with all these complaints. You start blaming him, you start blaming the economy, you start blaming the interest rates, and what's your outcome going to be? Of course, you know what it's going to be. You're going to be in the same or worse place because you're spending so much time talking about the way that it is currently, the way that you don't like it, that ultimately your result is going to be pretty bad, and you're not going to move forward. So again, the event, your boss tells you this, the response, you have the ability to change that response. And if you do change the response, it will potentially change your outcome. The response is the only thing you have control over. You don't have control over what the boss is going to say. You don't have control over the outcome other than your response. So now let's look at it from a different perspective. The green is you taking responsibility for your actions and for this situation. And when I say taking responsibility, I mean you're choosing a response that's going to help you. So the boss says the same thing. He says, you're only at 40% of your goal. So you look over there and the response is, I hear what he says, and I then get right on the phones and I immediately start to call financial advisors, and I start setting up meetings. I start doing follow-ups. I start asking for referrals. I start doing all the things that I can do so that I can change my outcome. The event is the event. Our response is the thing that we have the ability to choose. And we can choose either one in this situation. right? If I choose to get and start immediately making the phone calls, what's my outcome going to be? I'm going to have more premium. It begins to flow in, right? I'm planting the seeds. I'm planting all those seeds that this money flows in, the premium comes in, and then I ultimately move closer to my goals because I chose to take responsibility for my actions. I chose to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to look in the mirror, and there's only one person that's responsible for your goal, and that's you. And if you're not there, it's because of you. It's not because of anyone else but yourself. Now, I know that may be hard to hear, but I'm telling you, if you can take that on and you live by this rule right here, your life will change for the better. Think about all the people that you currently know. Think about one person that you know that is always complaining, always blaming, always making excuses. And I want you to answer this question. What do their results look like? I already know the answer. They don't look good because that person's spending all their time doing something that's not going to produce results. It's going to just produce more negative energy and ultimately no results. Got it? E plus R equals O. This formula can change your entire life. And I'm not saying it lightly. Like this is, I'm giving you such a gift by sharing this with you. You just have to decide. You have to make a decision and say, I am going to take this on and I am going to live by this rule. I'm going to do it no matter what. Even if it feels uncomfortable, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to make any more excuses. I'm going to choose my response. I'm going to choose my ability to respond. And by doing that, your life will can completely change. All right, so I want to give you this little challenge, and then I have another thing that I want to show you real quick. The challenge that I'm going to give to you is, do you think for the next 24 hours, right? I'm not saying to do it for a month, a week, a year, saying for 24 hours. When you start to notice that you're blaming something, you become aware of it and you stop. When you start to complain about something, you become aware of it and then you stop. When you start to make excuses, you become aware of it and you stop. When you start saying something negative, you become aware of it and you stop. And then here's how it works. You have this rule which says I have 5 seconds to correct what I just did. So for example, if you start blaming the economy, you start blaming the interest rates, you have 5 seconds to autocorrect. Otherwise, your 24-hour challenge starts over from scratch. So you got 5 seconds to edit, right? If you're writing a script for a movie, you don't like a line, you just edit it out. We're going to edit it out in that 5-second period. So again, the rules: no blaming, no complaining, no excuses, you can't say anything negative. And if you start to, no problem, become aware of it, and you've got the 5-second rule to autocorrect. If you can start doing this one thing, nothing else, just this, taking responsibility, taking 100% responsibility for your life, no blaming, complaining, no excuses. If you can do this, your life will change completely. Completely. All right. Now I want to show you this one last thing really quick, and then we're going to wrap it up. We're going to look at a specific example. How can I take responsibility for my time, for the time? How many of you, let me ask you a question. How many of you spend time on social media, maybe spend time sitting around and gossiping, spend time doing things that are a waste of time? Maybe you're watching a video on YouTube that is serving no purpose. You're not learning from it. You're wasting your time scrolling on social media, seeing if your friends liked your post or seeing what your friends are doing. Does any of that do any good for us? No, it doesn't do any good for us. So here's the thing. Someone said something to me and it really made me think. And it was, how am I using my time? If you are using 7 minutes 7 minutes of your day, 7 minutes scrolling on social media, 7 minutes on doing something that you don't really want to be doing, wasting your time. If you take that 7 minutes and you multiply it by 365 days, and then you divide that by 60, it'll give you, and then you divide that again by 40, right? There's 60 minutes in an hour. So we're trying to figure out how many hours we're actually spending doing this per year. And then we divide it by a 40-hour work week. It turns out that if you spend 7 minutes wasting your time on something every single day, that is 1.06 40-hour work weeks that you've just spent doing something that is a complete waste of your time. By the way, if you're taking total responsibility for your life, wouldn't be looking at how you're spending your time be a very important piece of that? Imagine 7 minutes spent doing something that you don't like doing, or I shouldn't say that you don't like doing, that is a waste of your time, that's not moving you closer to your goal. It's not a goal achieving activity. If you're doing that, what are the chances and likelihood that you're going to get what you want? You've just spent one 40-hour work week by spending 7 minutes. Now let's look at this. What if you spend 1 hour a day doing something like scrolling on social media, or just something that's not going to get you it's not a goal achieving activity. 1 hour times 365 days divided by 40-hour work week is 9 40-hour work weeks that you're spending doing that thing that you don't want to be doing. And you say, well, I'm just doing it for an hour. No, you're spending 9.125 40-hour work weeks over a year. So I would study this slide, because you'll start really questioning the things that you're spending your time on, and ask yourself this question: is this a goal achieving activity that I'm spending my time on? In other words, is this something that I really want to have more of in my life, or not? And if it's not, then maybe we shouldn't be spending the time, because if you spend 7 minutes on it in a year, you've spent one 40-hour work week. You see where I'm going with this? So again, another huge thing for you to look at and to help you really budget your time, so that you can start looking at, where am I wasting my time? What am I doing consistently that's not getting me what I want? And if you can carve out 7 minutes, if you just take back 7 minutes of your time, that's one 40-hour work week. If you can get an hour back of your time, that is 9.125 40-hour work weeks that you get back. Now imagine that you want to become a better salesperson, or you're going to use that time to prospect and get better. You're talking about 9 40-hour work weeks over a year, just by carving back and taking back 1 hour. You see where I'm coming with all this? This is all about taking responsibility for life. This is the last thing I want to show you. This is a study, research that was done, showing that the typical social media user, you, your family, your friends, your children, they're spending at least an average of 2 hours and 23 minutes per day on social media. So when we apply our little formula to try to figure out how much time we're really spending, if we're doing that 2 hours a day, 365 days a year, and then we divide that by the 40-hour work week, that means that the average person is spending 18.25 40-hour work weeks on social media. Now, just think, if we just took back half of that, that would give us 9 40-hour work weeks to commit to bettering ourselves, getting the results we want, having a better relationship, getting better health and wellness. All the things that we want in our life are available if we start taking back our time. And again, until you look at this, you may not have realized by spending 7 minutes a day is a lot, because this is how much it actually adds up to. So what are you getting from all this? I want you to comment in the message, on LinkedIn below. I want you to comment, what did you get from this presentation? And most importantly, what are you committing to do with the information that you just got? Because I'm praying that I didn't waste my time telling you all this information, and you're going to say, oh, you got to check out this guy. You know, he works with Insurance RVPs. He had this great webinar. He gave some great statistics and great information, and then not use it. The whole goal is that you're going to take this and you're going to use it to better yourself. So I just want to wrap up on this note. Again, practice one small step at a time, right? Maybe you're going to start carving out time for yourself. Maybe you're going to stop blaming. Maybe you're going to stop making excuses. Maybe you're going to stop complaining. Just practice doing it one time a day and do that every day. And then once you get that down, you'll move it up to 2 and 3 and 4. And before you know it, it will become a habit, and you'll start taking responsibility for your life. You won't blame, you won't complain, you won't make excuses, and your results will go through the roof. Here's the thing. If you feel like you might need some help with this, then reach out to me. I'm going to put in the LinkedIn below, I'm going to put my website, which is michaelfoxcoach.com. And there's a waiting list for coaching calls. I'm offering a free coaching call, complimentary. And I'm just going to learn more about you in that call. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. And then if we both agree, the next step after that would be, I'm going to teach you how your mind actually operates. And you'll walk away from that call blown away, because you'll understand what actually is happening up here in your mind. That nonsense that just keeps talking to us. Why is that even occurring? How does it happen? What can I do to make it stop? Well, I'm going to show you that by teaching you something. And when I teach you that, you'll be ahead of 99% of all people that are out there in understanding how the mind actually operates. So the number one thing you can do is sign up on the waiting list. You'll see it right on the website. There's a link to sign up for that, and you'll see it below as well. And number 2 is, I have a 21-day free mindset challenge, which again, you can sign up for on the website and on the link below. This mindset challenge is going to give you a video every single day for 21 days. Why 21 days? Because in 21 days, that's how much time it takes to really start building a habit. So we're going to build a habit of how you're using your mind over 21 days. There's no cost to that. But the thing that I'm going to ask you is only sign up for it if you're making a commitment to do it. Don't sign up and watch it for 3 days and then stop. If you're going to do it, sign up for those 21 days. Okay, so those are the 2 options. Those are the ways that we can work together right now. And I thank you for taking your time, and I wish you only the best. Here's what I can tell you. You have all the power right inside of you. You're so much stronger than you may give yourself credit for, because we've been told by other people over time, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you can't produce as much. All this BS reasoning that was given to us by other people. But let me tell you, it's BS. That's a belief system. It's BS. It's not true, but we've accepted it as true. And you'll understand why after we talk, because it's all how the mind works. So have a wonderful day. Make the commitment. No blaming, no complaining, no excuses. I am going to begin today taking 100% responsibility for my life. Thanks for your time. And just know you're an amazing person and you have this power. And I believe in you 100%, even though I don't know you. I can promise you, I believe in you and I know that you can do it. So have an amazing day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.